Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the KP Podcast, the podcast where we'll sit down and talk to some of your favorite bands, maybe get to know a few bands that you haven't heard of yet. I'm your host, KP. That intro song was brought to you by the band we're about to talk to. They got some new music in the works, and that's a little teaser from some of their newest music. Right now, we're talking to the guitar player of this band, the band Narrative. The guy's name, Cliff Ross. How you doing today, Cliff?
Good, man. How's it going?
Great, man. So you reached out to me. We've talked before when you were in another band, and now we're back again. You're in a new band. So who is Narrative, and where are you guys from?
Narrative, we're a three-piece band based out of Chicago and also Milwaukee. We got the other members are from Milwaukee, so I'm the Chicago-based one.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
For some people who haven't heard of you guys yet, how would you really describe your sound?
Well, up till this point, we've been kind of like a post-rock sound. I guess you could compare it to like Too Close to Touch or Slaves or something like that.
Yeah.
But we're kind of in the middle of a transition right now that I'm pretty excited about.
Oh, a transition. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Just more hip-hop influenced, just kind of experimenting with, sampling and, beats and just different aspects that, that we haven't really incorporated yet.
Okay, I got you now. So, like I said at the very start of this, you've played in different bands before. You were in a heavy band before. What really inspired playing with this alternative rock, this more hip-hop inspired kind of style?
So after Enterprise Earth, I was, going to start another heavy band. So I was writing a ton of new music in the same vein as Enterprise Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, I kind of started to realize it's not really what I wanted to do anymore in terms of writing. I kind of found myself not really listening to much heavy music anymore. I still do, but it's definitely not my primary music taste, I'd say.
Okay.
So then I just kind of got to the point where I was like, well, why am I writing music and trying to play music that I don't myself even really listen to? So I kind of switched and been trying to find my footing, with a style that I feel comfortable writing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And you're a guitar player. How long have you been playing guitar now for?
I'd say 15 to 17 years, somewhere around there. I started in seventh grade. So
oh, I got you. I'm back in sixth grade. That's when I started.
Yeah.
So what bands were you listening to around this writing process that kind of transitioned into Narrative? What really inspired you for this style of band?
I've always been into melodic hardcore music. I don't know if you remember It Prevails.
Oh yeah.
Shai Hulud and bands like that. When Narrative first started, when I first started writing the music for it, I was experimenting with a lot of melodic aspects like tapping and doing a bunch of things that I developed over time listening to melodic hardcore music, and then I kind of blended it with rock, and that's where our song Vague Answers came from. It kind of is a blend of the styles and what I was initially writing, and then over the course of the music we released, it kind of just transitioned into a more I guess straightforward rock aspect, similar to like I said, Too Close to Touch or Slaves or bands like that. But then again, I just found myself realize I don't know, I just kind of wanted to experiment and do my own thing and not try to fit into a specific category. So I listen to mostly hip hop or pop or things like that. So I want to incorporate things that I'm into rather than trying to fit into a Warped Tour style genre, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you weren't really writing for any specific people out there. You were writing more for yourself, and you kind of fell into that. I gotcha.
That's kind of where I am at in music in general. I'm just kind of, I'm 29 now. I'm been writing music for a while, and I just kind of, it's time where I'm like, all right, I don't really care what other people want to hear. I'm just writing music that I want to listen to, and if people don't vibe with it, then that's cool with me, because I'm just trying to put out music, not necessarily trying to hit it big, I'd say.
Okay, I gotcha. Tell us about the releases you guys have out now.
So far we have, I'd say, 5 or 6. I want to say 6. So far we have 6 singles out. One of them is actually a cover. So 5 originals, 1 cover. We've just been putting out singles since we formed. I think we put our first one out in July of 2017, I want to say.
Okay.
And then just kind of been, maybe it was 2018. I honestly couldn't remember. I got my years mixed up, but just kind of been pumping out singles since then, and in the process of finishing up an EP right now.
Okay.
We have a new single coming out soon, though, that we just shot a video for, so that should be out, I'd say, mid-February.
Oh, okay. Something to look forward to. All right.
That'll be like the first taste of like the new genre style blend we're doing, I guess.
Okay, so can you explain how the writing process usually goes, and what's your involvement with the writing process? I know you're the guitar player, but sometimes people contribute to lyrics, or maybe they'll do most of the writing or some of the writing, whatever it may be. Go ahead.
So far, I've just written all the music. I originally started it as I was just writing solo music, instrumentally, not really knowing what I was going to do with it, and then kind of recruited Cade for vocals. But so the writing process is usually just I'll write the music, and then we'll take it to the studio, and then me and Cade will sit down and throw lyrics back and forth and get some stuff solid down. I mean, there's songs he's written alone. I think he's written a couple of them by himself lyrically. But mostly it's, kind of sit in the studio and write vocals that way. Kind of comes out better, I'd say.
Yeah, a little bit more natural.
Stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I gotcha. I really haven't seen bands typically do a release, not schedule, but kind of like schedule how you guys have, just single and single and single. Nothing wrong with that at all. I just want to know why this kind of approach. Typically, you would see a band put a single out, then maybe shoot for an EP or an album. Why the single approach?
I feel like the industry kind of is at a weird place right now where albums, I mean, not that albums don't do well, but it's more about the content rather than what you're putting that content on. If we put out an album, then that's, we put out an album, people listen to it for a month, and then we go dark for 2 years while we're writing another album. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like with this approach, we're kind of, releasing little by little and keeping people interested rather than now we have to go into writing mode. You'll hear more from us in a year and a half when our new album's out, or
right.
when we're trying to put out singles, and that's how people lose interest. And I see a lot of, I think it's mostly bands making the mistake, because let's say you look at a hip hop or a pop artist, they're constantly putting out music. It's always new singles, new features, new collaborations. They're always pumping out music, and I feel like with the genre that we play in, whether it's metal or rock or any subcategory of rock or what we're generally in, is I see a lot of bands making that mistake where they're not putting out consistent content. It's just kind of they're following this format that they feel like they have to do because all the bands before them are doing, and genres like metal and certain forms of rock are kind of they're not the popular genres anymore. The rock stars that you hear about aren't even rock music anymore. It's like people like Kanye West and the Baby, and what I'm saying, it's like rock stars as they were defined before are a thing of the past. And I think it's because we keep following a lot of the same tropes that have happened before us, and I'm trying to just break out of that, I think.
Absolutely. And how do you think that's been going? How seeing the numbers, seeing that yourself, is it working?
I think to a degree. I think with the shift in, the style that's coming, I think we're going to have a little bit better of a time trying to execute on that.
Okay.
I think we're releasing content the correct way, but again, we're releasing, this rock music that's, very niche to like our underground scene. It's, you don't see bands like us like on, big stations or on the radio. Not that we'll get to the radio necessarily, but it's, I feel like we're limiting ourselves with, we're kind of like a hard post rock, and it's kind of a hard sell to the general population, I guess. Like, if I play a song for a 40-year-old woman from Narrative, she's not going to be into it, even if
right.
Even if it's all singing, like, all we do, it's all singing parts, but
as soon as she hears like that hard guitar sound. Or that hard,
exactly.
I gotcha. It is a unique approach, and again, nothing wrong with it. I've never seen it before with a rock group or anything like that. And you're right, with the hip hop artists and that kind of style, it's working for them. So you might as well give it a shot. So keep at it, man.
And a lot of the new stuff honestly doesn't even have many like instruments necessarily. It's like a lot of like sampling and, very hip hop influence. There's even limited guitar. Like I limited myself on like what I'm doing guitar wise, because I've kind of come from a background like we know in metal, where it's like, oh, the cooler riff is, like the harder the riff, the cooler the part, basically. And I'm trying to break out of that, where it's like, it's not necessarily about how difficult of a riff or, how cool of a part you're playing. It's more of like what fits, what makes you feel something. And it's a lot of times, the more basic approach that people relate to more. It's hard to follow like 200 BPM tremolo picking for like the average person. It's
right.
hard, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like I'm trying to incorporate things that I myself, even coming from like a metal background, I find myself listening to, because it's easier listening. Makes you feel something more when you can relate to a song and not screaming about like, I don't know,
whatever heavy metal trope you want to throw in.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha.
And not even just metal. It's just rock as a whole. It's just kind of like it's becoming stale, and I just want to break out of that. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm kind of getting bored of it myself. So I'm trying to do new things to keep myself entertained, I guess.
I mean, what's the alternative? Doing the same thing over and over for however many years until you're like, all right,
exactly.
Well, now I'm done with music. Time to go retire,
rinse,
I guess.
Repeat.
Yeah.
Wash, rinse, repeat. It's kind of just, all right, been there.
So you've talked a little bit about like, all right, so you got this new sound coming, a little bit more hip-hop influence. You got a new song coming. What's the plan with future releases? Are you going to stick with this single format? Is there an EP, an album in the works? Anything you can share?
I'm definitely working on an EP right now. We got 3 songs recorded. We just got to finish up vocals. But one of the songs is ready to go, so we're putting that one out. I want to say mid-February. That's more of a tentative time.
Okay.
Maybe it'll get pushed back a week or two. I'm not really sure, but so we're gonna try to put out a couple singles before, like, we put out the EP we're gonna do. I want to say it's gonna be about 5 or 6 songs to start, and then kind of just go from there.
Okay. It is still the very beginning of 2020. What is the plan for 2020?
I'm just really focused on like writing and releasing content. As far as like tours and shows, I'm not really in a rush. I'd say, like, I don't know if you know, I have 2 kids, so for me to tour, I would kind of
more difficult. Yeah.
Well, I guess difficult, but like I just want to make sure I'm setting myself up. Like, I want it to be a worthwhile experience, and I've been doing the whole, touring broke for up to
right.
this point. It's like, it's at what point do you stop that? I want to tour. That's what I've always loved to do, but I want to position ourselves to a place to where the tours would be worth it to do, not, leave everything we love and leave our jobs to go make $5 per diem a night.
Yeah, be stressed out and
really.
Yeah, I got you, man. Yeah, that's a good goal to have. For fans of Enterprise Earth with your earlier works, any other bands you were in, fans of the band now Narrative, do you have any final words you want to say to fans now?
I just want to thank everybody that's, followed Narrative or, even me. There's a lot of people that I see, transition with me as I, try different projects, whether it be the heavier style or whether the post-rock or now coming into like a more hip-hop influence thing. I see a lot of the same people like supporting me, no matter what I'm doing, and it's always a really good feeling to see. So I just want to thank everybody that's been there, from that time, and hopefully it continues.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Cliff. I'm going to talk to you here in a second off air. That's Cliff Ross from the band Narrative. He reached out to me, so thank you again, Cliff, for reaching out to me. Check out the band Narrative if you're into anything related to rock, metal, heavy metal, even these new hip-hop influences. I'm pretty stoked on this new release coming up. I've been following these guys since, I'm friends with Cliff. I'm happy that he's doing this music. So whenever they started this, I've been kind of keeping my eye on them anyway. So you guys got to keep an eye on them, ear on them, all that good stuff. I want to say thank you for tuning in to this episode of the KP Podcast. As always, we'll see you guys next time.